You've probably felt it before, that strange sense that everything just lined up. The timing was right, the place felt right, and the people around you were right, and something shifted. In Chinese philosophy, there's a phrase for this alignment, 天时地利人和, heaven's timing, earth's advantage, human harmony. It was first found written by Mencius, recorded in Gongsun Chouxia. It is also referenced by Sun Tzu or Sun Tzu in The Art of War. Today, people use it to describe an opportune moment, to describe perfect, ideal alignment for a prosperous event like a wedding or meeting your person, or to speak about optimal business investments like opening a new restaurant, a new business, or the right time for an investment. It's a term found in the cosmology of Daoism as well as Chinese philosophy, combining the ideas of the heavens or destiny with practical earthly matters like Feng Shui and Geomancy, and for my purposes, Gridworking and ritualistic purposes. Today, we're going to trace this phrase from its classical roots. Proverbs and adages usually does come from an older philosophical text. What might be filed away as ancient Chinese wisdom actually has Confucian roots, specifically from Confucian philosopher Mencius. The writing first show up in a compilation of his teachings by his disciples. Mencius lived roughly a century after Confucius, about 372 to 289 BCE. In Gongsun Chouxia, Mencius makes an argument about what actually wins wars and holds states together. The original line reads, 天时不如地利，地利不如人和, and it's translated as, heaven's timing is not as good as Earth's advantage. Earth's advantage is not as good as human harmony. Mencius illustrates this with an experiment about a smaller, weaker city under siege. The attackers have favorable timing and even favorable celestial conditions on their side and still fail to seize the city because the defenders who hold the terrain are united. Then he flips it. Even a city with strong walls, stockpile grain, every material and geographic advantage you can think of, it can fall if the people inside aren't unified. The structure don't save you if the people are not united and share the same will. His conclusion is startlingly modern. Material conditions matter and the timing matters, but neither outweighs the cohesion of the people involved. While for Mencius, it was mostly a political argument discussing the ruler's legitimacy, leadership, the state's survival hinging on the unity of the people. This certainly makes me ponder about recent geopolitical conflicts. That's the root of where this phrase comes from, mostly philosophical and political, not yet mystical. The triad of heaven, humans, and earth was not confined to just politics, as strategists picked it up. Because if you're commanding an army, like in Mencius' example of a city under siege, then timing, terrain, and morale are exactly what you'd be considering. In Sun Tzu Bingfa, or The Art of War, written by Sun Tzu, the phrase 天时地利人和, it's also built around the same forces. In the opening chapter, Sun Tzu names the factors that determine victory before a battle is even fought. And three of his considerations map pretty much directly to our heaven, earth, and human. So the heavenly parts, tiān, this is regarding the seasons and the right timing. And then earth, we have the terrain, the geography, the distance. I guess terrain and geography are the same thing, but anyhow. Then we have the people's accord with their leadership to their commander, as well as whether they have morality and discipline. which parallels with what Mengzi would say about 人和 or harmony. Sun Tzu puts it plainly: know the geographical terrain, know the season and weather conditions, and above all, know whether your people are unified with their commander, with the same moral righteousness, and that the commander or leader is virtuous, someone who leads with wisdom, benevolence, sincerity, courage, and discipline. Because an army that doesn't believe in what they're doing, they will break even before the enemy even reaches them. So by the time we get to the warring states with the military tradition, it became an applicable strategy. A general was expected or advised to assess all these conditions before committing to battle. Is the timing right? Do we have advantageous geographical positioning? And are we united in our will? Skip any of those, then you've lost the battle before it began. Before we go on, I would like to linger a little longer in the mystical side of the military lineage because it's too good to skip. Alongside strategists like Sun Tzu, Chinese tradition also preserve a much more esoteric system of military divination, Qimen Dunjia, loosely translated to the mysterious gate and escaping or protecting techniques. It's one of the three arts, 三识, of Chinese metaphysics, and historically it was used by commanders to choose the precise time and direction of where to move their troops. And this is a reading between the interaction of stars, time cycles, and the 8 trigrams to find the most advantageous moment to strike or to retreat. In other words, Qimen Dunjia is 天时 and 地利 formalized into a divinatory method. And the legend behind it ties directly to the goddess. Maybe you've heard of her from my previous video or other videos, Jiutian Xuannü, the goddess of the 9 heavens. In the old transmission myth, it is Jiutian Xuannü who descends to teach the Yellow Emperor, Huang Di, the secrets of Qimen Dunjia during his war against Shiyou, handing the strategy down as a gift from heaven itself. Whether or not you read the story literally, this tells you something about how Chinese culture understood strategy. The line between tactics and sacred knowledge was not that distinct, as knowing the right moment to act was considered divine information, which is why rulers kept this knowledge and information a secret. About divine timing or destiny or mandate, that's maybe a bigger topic, but if it interests you, we can do a separate video, so let me know. When we talk about 天时 or heaven's timing in a military or strategic sense, 奇门遁甲 and 九天玄女 are worthy of a quick mention. So for those of us doing energy work, divination, or gridworking, so we're moving from military strategy to cosmology, Chinese cosmology organizes the universe into these 3 fundamental powers, 三才, so the 3 powers or 3 talents, heaven, earth, human, 天地人. And this triad shows up throughout the Yijing, where the 6 lines of the hexagram are traditionally read in pairs, with the top 2 being the heaven, the middle 2 representing human, and the bottom 2 representing the earth. Heaven, earth, human is not unique to Taoism, but in Taoist cosmology, it's absorbed and elaborated and interwoven to every aspect of it. And it frames human beings as the mediating point between the celestial patterns and the earthly forms. So this is what I argue the reason how 天时地利人和 has spread so far beyond the original Confucian political or military context. It's not just because it's catchy, but because we have this 三才 天地人, this triad framework when considering ultimate harmony. Heaven's timing, not just like good weather, It's the larger celestial pattern and seasonal influence pressing down into the world. The same logic that BaZi works on, where you have your natal chart, which is essentially a snapshot of heaven's timing the moment you were born. Then you look at the heavenly stems and the earthly branches. So the Earth's advantage isn't just good terrain for an ambush. It is the qi of a specific location from the Earth up. So the same logic as Feng Shui and Geomancy are built on. And human harmony isn't just your morale, it's the coherence of human will and relationship, sitting at the meeting point between heaven and earth. So once you see it this way, the phrase moves beyond a popular saying and can become a tool. Because any situation, whether a battle, a business, a ritual, or life, it can be read through this lens. Is the timing aligned? Is the place aligned? And are the people aligned? So this is where Benebell Wen's The Tao of Craft, the book here, becomes a practical companion to the concept of 天时. So when outlined in chapter 8 has the detailed Daoist system for timing. And in this context of the book, it's specifically for Fu sigil charging rituals according to the Chinese lunisolar calendar. By aligning the ritual to the right timing, so this could be the 24 solar terms, the 12 earthly branches, and the hourly ascendants corresponding to the Chinese zodiac. Every 2 hours of the day is governed by a different zodiac sign, which carries a distinct quality of qi that makes certain energies more accessible during that window. Rather than prescribing that only certain rituals can be performed at certain hours, Wen frames it as a matter of ease and resonance. Choosing a time when the qi is already moving through the hour is in harmony of the intention that you want something to work towards. So the Fu sigils crafted to harness wood energies, for instance, would flow more readily during the wood month. So according to the chart, it would be February to April. A ritual invoking yin energies might be better served by Monday, when the yin is dominant, than Sunday, a yang day of the week. The system extends across the month, days, and hours, and each layer adding another degree of alignment between the practitioner's intention and the larger pattern of heaven's timing. So this is 天时 in a very practical sense, and a way to utilize the energy of the heavens and consult the cosmological system to better pair up with our intentions. Of course, if you're doing rituals all the time, you might be able to remember, but if you're like me, I cannot remember anything, so I just look it up. And if you're interested, you can check out Benebell's book and use it for reference for 天时. In Feng Shui and in the broader practice of geomancy, 地利, Earth's advantage, is a whole discipline. A geomancer who is reading the land is considering, where does the qi pool and gather? Where does it flow? And where does it scatter? And the geomancer is looking at mountains, watercourses, as well as the dragon meridians, often described as the invisible lines of concentrated earth energy. And this is exactly what Di Li was also pointing at. Just depends if you're zooming in to the scale of a single site, perhaps a construction site, a business site, a home site, or land used to build a temple. Or you're taking a zoomed out view to look at the battlefield and see if there's geographical advantages. Since most of us are not looking at it for war and battle purposes right now, we're most likely looking at the feng shui of our homes and the office and the direction light is coming through, and a very basic way of feng shui of considering light, energy flow, and layout, good design, right? Like in a practical sense. And then we're considering like other earthly material conditions, like our accessories, colors, and materials that we choose to ornate ourselves to look at the flow and alignment. When I consider gridworking, I set my intention at the grid point and use it as an anchor to focus on the grid from the point across the area. In this sense, I'm putting my focus on seeing how I can use the advantages, which in my frame is Mother Earth's energy, a kind of earthly advantage. Then I would focus on the coherence of what I, or if I'm doing it in a small group, what we can offer and anchor into the grid. So when we think about divine timing, well, ideally, you can do it in a small group. Then you will have all three pieces: heavenly timing, Earth's advantage, and harmonious people in alignment. If there's any discord or resistance or disconnection among the people doing the work or receiving it, Mengzi would believe that when all three pieces are working coherently, specifically the harmony between people will determine the most ideal results. So bring it all together. 天时地利人和 started out as a Confucian political philosophy via Mengzi, and then gets absorbed into the military strategists like Sun Tzu in the art of war, and then eventually it seems to be mixed in and incorporated with the cosmological structure of San Cai, the heaven, earth, human, that runs underneath most Daoist practice, whether through the Yijing, Feng Shui, or BaZi, or destiny arts, and also for grid workers. It's not strictly a Daoist invention, but it's a perfect example of how Chinese philosophy and Daoist metaphysics are interwoven and doesn't really stay in separate lanes. At the end of the day, it's still carrying the same underlying logic of time, place, and people. And maybe that's the real takeaway. So next time, if you're planning a ritual or doing grid working or starting a project or selecting times for a big event, or when you're looking back to see why something worked and some things didn't, is to ask the question, was the timing right? Was the place right? And most importantly, according to Mengzi, were the people actually aligned? Let me know in the comments what you think. And speaking of 天时, I wanted to share that I'm hosting a free intro to gridworking workshop on August 18th, but please do check the description box as well as the pinned message because it's held on August 18th, but if you're in North America, it will be August 19th in Asia and Europe. The date I chose falls on the 7th day of the 7th lunar calendar, Qīxī, and it's also known as Chinese Valentine's Day, known in Japan as Tanabata, the Festival of the Stars, although they've adapted the 7/7 to the Gregorian calendar. So Qīxī, this is the day where the star-crossed celestial lovers, the Weaver Girl, Xuannü, identified with the brightest star in Lyra, Vega, and the cowherd, Niulang, identify with Altair and Aquila, where the two can unite across the Milky Way on a bridge of magpies after being separated by the Queen of Heaven, Xuannü. She disapproved of their relationship and forbid them to hang out. In Chinese cosmology, 77, Qīxī carries a auspicious yin and yang balancing energy associated with the feminine craft and skillful intention and weaving good fortune into our lives. It has been celebrated for centuries as Qichao-jie, the festival of skills, where young women would pray to the Weaver Girl for blessed unions and for the gift of creating things with their hands in craftsmanship. So I couldn't think of a more perfect day for us to gather and weave the grid together. Additionally, this will fall in the period of the metal in coordination with Venusian energy, where we can anchor energy together to temper the metal. So the image of the needle as used in craftsmanship, it's all about refinement, whether it's ideas like the metal pen, the tip of the pen, sharpening the pen, but also controlling the metal, like, controlling weaponry, praying for peace in the world. So details are going to be in the description and pinned in the comments below. I hope to see you there, and I'll see you in my next video.